it's yours whatever it takes. We're about to show you some ways this happens and get you started with some great worship here very soon.
Each Wednesday, 6:30 to 7:30, we have fam nights here at the church. We have adult Bible study, youth group, and children's programs. Fun for all ages. We follow the school calendar, and we hope to see you there. Sunday, November 25th, is our combined Thanksgiving service at 10:45. We will eat lunch afterwards. Sunday, December 2nd, is our annual Christmas play during the 10:45 service. Come support our kids. They've worked really hard.
There's so many more great things coming up, so be sure to check us out at lifespring11252018A.org and our Facebook page as well. If you're new with us here today, we would love to connect with you and serve you in any way possible. To help us with that, please fill out one of these white Connect cards and put it in the VIP box behind you. You'll get a free gift bag, a call from Pastor Nate, and some of our team leaders will be reaching out to you as well. At this time, please stand as we begin our worship.
Him walk in our lives. He is also, for those of us who are saved, if you're saved today, then you can rest assured that every day is going to be a glorious day. Not just one day, but every day, because He is our Lord who lives in us.
Before we do our greeting, as always, I wanted to share the main idea of today's service with you guys. We're doing a series called In Transit, and so today's big idea is Christ's death and resurrection went way above any expectation. So, as you guys are going around greeting one another, I'm saying hey to people you don't know, or people you do, just be thinking about that.
Every single night,
face with you.
But sometimes my faith feels thin.
depth of my soul, in the flood or the fire, you're with me. And I have this hope, the depth of my soul, in the flood or the fire, you're with me. You won't let go. It's in the flood or the fire, you're with me. You won't let go. It's in the flood or the fire, you're with me, and you won't let go.
God, we just thank you so much for this day. We thank you so much that you have given us the privilege and the honor to be able to come and just worship you, Lord, with other believers. I pray, God, that you would just move every heart and mind that's in here today. God, that we would hear what it is that you have for us today. We would hear what you're going to show us, what you're going to share with us today through the word, through Pastor Nate. God, I pray that you would let your spirit in this place, Lord, and let our minds, our eyes, our hearts be focused on you. In Jesus' name, amen.
You may be seated. Kids, you are dismissed. All the parents, adults, make some noise. Say bye to the children. Time. Have fun. Wow. How many of you had to wear your stretchy pants this morning after a good Thanksgiving? I hope you had an amazing, amazing holiday, an amazing time. We feel like you probably have not eaten enough this week, so we're going to have a lunch together after church today, all right? Now, I will tell you, we learned our lesson many moons ago. I kind of was like, hey, let's have this fellowship lunch. I don't know how it came about. And we served, guess what we served for the Sunday lunch after Thanksgiving? Turkey and ham and stuffing. How many of you are good at least until Christmas without any of that in your life? Okay? Yeah. Amen. So what we do now is we bring in other items. I promise today will be a different meal probably than what you've had this last week. But hopefully you can all stay and enjoy time together, fellowship, talk to each other about what you're thankful for, talk to each other about life and what's going on, and break bread together. Speaking of life, boy oh boy, we have a lot of things coming up, a lot to talk about, a lot to go over, a lot of kind of pre-sermon stuff that I really want to share, some just praise reports and some great things. First of all, a week from Wednesday is our annual business meeting. This happens at 6:30 instead of the Bible study and the normal night we have. We still have our children, we still have our youth programs, but for the adults we will have our annual business meeting, not this Wednesday but next. It's always the first Wednesday of December, and so we hope you're all able to be here and a part of that. So that's kind of the business meeting stuff. Also, Christmas. How many of you are like me that you've got to at least get to like today or this weekend to get in the Christmas spirit, kind of get in Christmas mode? Anybody else? Got to get past Thanksgiving at least. How many of you are just like, you're there all year long? Okay. Some of our young marrieds have had some discussion about that lately and different things. But I'm that guy. Like, get me to Thanksgiving and then I can get in the Christmas spirit. Well, if you're still struggling, we have the antidote, all right? This Saturday morning is the Boiling Springs Christmas Parade right here all up and down Highway 9. Josh and Melanie Holcomb, a family in our church, they blessed us with a float, basically literally floats in. No, it doesn't. It's a trailer that rides along the street, okay? But we all get to go in there. It's not just for the kids. The kids are there. They have a great time. But it's for each of us just to spread some Christmas cheer. It's a great way to spread the word about Lifespring. We throw out candy. We give out Christmas Eve cards. It's just an awesome day. So if you could come and be a part of that, please see me afterwards. We'll give you details. We shuttle people over from the library on Saturday morning. We all jump in that float and have a great time. And that's this Saturday as we prepare for the Christmas season and get ready. It's going to be so, so awesome. Well, a part of coming into Thanksgiving week, boy, for us Didways especially, you know, as your pastor and as your friend and extended family, I just want to share with you a little bit about what's been going on in our lives. Last weekend, you had, if you were able to be here, you got to hear from Pastor Angela, a.k.a. Mom, all right? That's what I call her. She was able to bring the word, and she's, of course, serving and doing kids, and man, she does so much. So we could awkwardly clap for her. Have you ever noticed that when you clap for somebody that's not here? It's like they can't hear you. They don't know what's happening. But everybody doing awkward clap things, right? They can't hear you. She doesn't understand. But she was able to bring the word last week because I was gone to our annual youth convention. I'm blessed to be a part and lead a Carolina Ministries team that puts on a convention, if you're new to our church, for teenagers and students from different churches all across North and South Carolina. And we go to Sumter, where we meet at this church there, and we have worship services, and we have a band, and we have a speaker who happened to be my brother, who's a pastor in Raleigh, North Carolina. His name is Matt. He was able to be a part of the weekend, and just an awesome youth convention. And Father, forgive me, but I got to give you some praise reports and some bragging reports on Lifespring, okay? Lifespring Youth, man. First of all, we'll kind of go from the pretty cool to the most awesomest of them all right? First of all, the convention went great. It was a good weekend. I always leave convention like, whew, 150 kids, no one got hurt, nothing bad happened. I don't have any nasty emails. It's all good, right? So you kind of come off of that. So that's the first praise report. Second thing was, our youth group, our students from Lifespring represented, and we came back as the volleyball tournament champions. Okay, volleyball tournament champions. Now, we have championship shirts. Now, Ethan, who's a part of our youth group, and we're all family here, right? We had this moment. I'm up on stage, and it's this room full of people. I'm like, yes, my youth group, my church. I was bragging. All right, I'm the MC of the weekend. I'm telling them we won. We come up, and we have shirts on the stage. Now, there's a basketball tournament, and there's a volleyball tournament, and we have both of the shirts. Now, we didn't win the basketball tournament, unfortunately. Archdale Church did, which is great. But I tell us to come up, and Ethan, would you stand up and show off the shirt that you grabbed? So, we don't want to mislead you. We are not basketball champions, okay? But he wanted a basketball shirt, so he got one, which is awesome, all right? But we did legit. All right, Ethan, that's good. But we really did win the volleyball tournament, which was so cool and so exciting and so awesome. So then you lead, and like I said, the weekend was just awesome. And man, let me tell you, we have a blast. But as the local pastor here, and just to be able to go with the youth group, we had Jacob who poured so much into him, Becky who poured so much into him, so much prayer, so much time, so much resources, so many opportunities to go. And let me tell you, amen. Let me tell you, the highlight, sorry, that's just me trying not to cry. The highlight of the weekend was Saturday night, man, for our youth group, for two of our boys. We had some group processing time, and at the end of the convention, or at the end of the night, and we're all talking to things, and I asked their permission, and asked his permission. Did I get permission? Yes, all right, good. But right after, I'm running around trying to do crazy things or whatever, and Jacob's like, bro, you gotta meet me in this youth room. Ethan has to talk to us. So Ethan, our shirt model today. And Ethan went in there and said, guys, I'm ready to give my heart to the Lord. And my man Ethan right here got saved. And man, you fast forward and the night's going, and I'm helping clean, do whatever, leading the leadership team, all this stuff. And Jacob and Becky are like, hey, we're going to take our group to Waffle House. I said, man, nothing good happens at Waffle House, but you go for it. That's awesome. I now officially have an awesome Waffle House story, the first one in my life, where I get a call probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning, where my man Jacob says, man, my nephew Andrew, who's sitting right up here on the front row, right here at Waffle House, just gave his life to the Lord for the very first time. So that was the highlight. The next morning we had students stand that had given their life to the Lord or rededicated, and at least 12 or 15 students from all across the Carolinas stood awkwardly in front of all their peers and all their friends to say, hey, I made a decision this weekend that I will never be the same, and that Christ is going to lead my life. And so it was just an incredible weekend, and it's so good to be back and to be able to preach and to be in a church that I love so much. I miss everybody so much. But what an honor for God to be moving through our youth, through our teens, through students across the Carolinas, and to do what He's doing and to come back and be ready. And what a perfect Sunday for our In Transition series. How many of you, all right, and I'm going to talk about one specific one in my own family, but how many of you, without raising your hands, are probably going through some type of transition in your life from one season to another? I was a part of a transition in my family's life yesterday that I've never been a part of. There's a few things You ever kind of look back and you do something, you're like, wow, I've actually never done that. Like in my life experience. Yesterday, I was a part of an official, and they use real metal scissors, who knew, an official real ribbon cutting ceremony for my dad, who's here today, and for my sister Yvonne's brand new store. Like they opened up a legit clothing store that was just incredible, and we had that happening, and I think, man, and we're talking today about transitioning in reality versus expectations. I stand before you today as a man that has loved God for a long time, and every convention, every weekend, every transition in my own family's life, going from this business to that or whatever it might be, God's reality has always gone so much further than my expectations. I never dreamed that my little sister, she is, man, I'm 10 years older than her, and my dad would open up their own store. Like, I never dreamed that that would be possible. I never dreamed that our youth, our crazy kids, would go from spiking on people and winning volleyball tournaments to on their face before God saying, Lord, I love you, and just being able to give everything we have to Him. So many different transitions and so many different areas of life that God is leading us as a church and our communities around us. And my prayer is, as we continue this series in transit, as we talk about going from one season of life to another, we're going to wrap it up next week, right before the Christmas play. We're doing a brief service, a brief sermon before our children share with us and what they've been working so hard. I hope you all come and be a part of that. But we're going to wrap this up as we continue to look at different, those are some local examples of transition, some local examples of life change, some local examples of one season of life to another. And we've also been looking at biblical examples. And we looked at Daniel and how he transitioned from, hey, I'm going to go from serving my God no matter what to even facing death and still serving God. We looked at Job the very first week of how Job went from bad news after bad news after bad news and transitioned from one message of tragedy to another and kept his faith and felt and worshiped to God. No matter what transition came his way, he continued to serve God. And then last week you got to hear from Pastor Angela, my mom, and I watched it on YouTube, so I know for a fact it was good, that she was able to share with you the transition of time. Man, how God's timing sometimes is so much different than ours. To share with you from Abraham. If you know the story, and you're like me, you might have said this before, God, I trust your timing, but can you not wait as long as you did for Abraham and Sarah? Okay? Could you go ahead and just give me that blessing? I know many of us think about time, and man, what seems like an eternity to us could just be a blink of an eye in God's kingdom, and His timing is so much better as we transition from that to another. I have a question for you today. We're going to look at some deep stuff, and we're going to look at some fun stuff as well. But I want to ask you this, man. Are you going through a transition of life that only you can fill in the blanks? Maybe a job. Maybe you've got terrible news. Maybe you find yourself going from one area of another, and what you find is maybe it's you thought that you would be at this point in your life, and man, in reality you feel like you're really just down here and the great stuff hasn't happened yet. Maybe you thought you saw yourself in that house with the white picket fence or whatever, and you're just not there. Whatever area of your life that your expectations have not quite lined up with reality, that's what we're going to look at today as we transition from one season to a next. I got to ask you this. Have you ever had expectations of a certain job that didn't turn out the way you thought it would? Have you ever had expectations of a certain relationship and it just didn't turn out the way you thought it would? Have you ever had expectations of a certain substance, something that you turn to of the world, that you had these expectations that this substance or this item would take things away, and it never did? And that's what happens when your expectations don't quite line up with reality. Man, Lord, I never thought I'd be, and you fill in the blank. My expectations were so different. Man, that's some kind of deep stuff. So let's transition from that into Thanksgiving. Amen? How many of you have certain expectations? And we talk here, we can share it together. How many of you expect what on Thanksgiving meal? Like, this will happen. I expect this to be in front of me to consume at some